Okay, so it's been quite the week. I have lost 3.6 kgs this week, which is 8 pounds.
Wow, you're starting off with that.
I'm starting off with that
Okay.
because it's relevant.
Okay,
I'm chubby.
Okay, I think it's we need status update pictures.
No, we don't need that. In Fiji, it's really hard living here in the sense that, like, you can gain weight, like, crazy in a week or two. And obviously for women, it's harder for us to lose weight because our metabolisms are not as fast. Our muscle doesn't develop.
Oh my gosh.
Blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I've been working on losing weight. So John and I have cut out rice, cassava, bread, and just eating mostly
Carbohydrates.
Yeah, carbs. And we've been mostly eating protein. We've been doing keto for those who know what that is, but we've been doing protein, vegetables, high fats. And then I have been walking into town 5 days a week. I'm going to try to do that until at least we go to Canada in July. So hopefully I'll look a lot skinnier by then. But it's hard here because it's so hot and we're really stationary. And the food, you'd be surprised at how heavy it is. A lot of bread-based, carb-based. Yep. So that's been difficult.
And the ketogenic diet worked well for us before.
Yeah.
Steph used it to lose weight between
kids,
Aliki and Sevenaya.
Yeah.
And it worked really, really good for you. It worked really, really well for me. We used it for just over a year, I think, which is actually a long time to do a diet.
Yeah.
And like what I've learned from dieting or fitness is that like everything has a time limit on it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, people say you got to make it a lifestyle, but it's like, unless you have like some sort of terminal illness, there's a very, very good chance, it's a 99% chance you're probably not going to make it a lifestyle forever. Because
and we're also not doing like strict keto. Like John and I are doing like Friday nights we're allowed bread.
Yeah.
And Saturday mornings.
And it's not bread. Like say for tonight,
well,
we're testing pizza at the shop.
Yeah.
Because this podcast is brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee, where we will soon be serving pizza, which is located in Sangaga.
And I want to say it's going to be delicious pizza because I have been working.
Well, it's not going to be delicious. It's going to be the best pizza in Fiji.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. We're going to get some saucy sauces up here. Yeah. And I'm hoping it's going to blow you guys' minds. If it doesn't, tell us. I'll make something else.
Yeah. So tonight we were tasting some of your pizza sauce. Yeah. So
that's right.
We say that for a Friday night because who doesn't like pizza? But for those of you who don't know, maybe you guys have heard of it online, the keto diet or ketogenic. I was talking to Tui the other night, and basically what it is, if I'm able to like sum it up in like 30 seconds, it was originally a diet that was developed to help people who had epilepsy, which is kids especially who have like lots and lots of seizures.
Yeah.
We had a friend who had a child who passed away from epilepsy, was having like multiple hundreds of seizures a day, went on the ketogenic diet, and really it was like cut in half, but still ended up passing away because half was still like
not quite enough.
Was still like many, many, many seizures every day. And so the ketogenic diet is your body runs off of ketones instead of being fueled from carbohydrates. So when we eat cassava, when we eat dalo, when we eat Maggi noodles or bread, those are carbs. Carbs get turned into glucose, and then your body, which is a sugar, and your body is fueled off of that glucose. Whatever excess glucose does not get used gets stored as fat. So what you do in the ketogenic diet is you remove all the carbohydrates, so your body switches over to being run off of the fats, the stored fats in your body, or the ketones, which help you access those fats.
And I'm going to say, guys, it's really hard in Fiji to do it. I think it's not the fact that we don't have access to the things. It's hard to be creative enough. Like, even for us, we're mostly in Senganga during the day in the office, and I'll go to the market there. And
in the office.
Yeah, we're in the office.
Just another day in the office.
And when I head to the market to grab vegetables, sometimes they only have like tembua, which is, am I saying that right?
Tumbua.
I was like, I think I said that wrong. Which is like a
in the market,
spinach.
They only have whale's teeth.
Yeah.
That's what a tambua is.
Okay, that's why I was like hesitating. I'm
Yeah.
like, I think that's actually a different word. And then I was like, either I go for it or I
That's okay.
acknowledge that I sucked at.
Tumbua is like spinach, and tambua is like a whale's tooth that is like a
Yeah.
very highly prized traditional ceremonial
And for
gift.
us that suck at listening
Anyways.
to the small differences, it sounds the same. So I'll try, but it does sound the same. Anyway, it's a spinach, but that's all they have at the market. And to be honest, like,
I think it's one of the best greens in
it
Fiji.
is.
It's the highest in iron, I think. Correct me if I'm
Must
wrong.
be.
Yeah.
And it is good, but I am not a huge spinach. Like, I like it, but I'm not creative with it. Like, I don't know how to make it delicious. And so I can work with all the other vegetables, but that particular one is hard for me to like deal with. So that's all that I'm like be able to access. And then I went into Lambasa the other day to get vegetables, and like the market price is insane. Like, normally you can get a bundle of Chinese cabbage for like $2 to $3.
Whoa.
No,
That's
listen.
racist. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm just like pausing over here. Like, I don't know if I can continue with my story or if I have to like
It's
slap you.
2023. Do we still get to like Chinese cabbage?
Well, that's what they call it in Fiji, and I'm not going to change what they call
Okay,
it. So
okay.
moving on. Anyway, and bok choy, but nobody else would know what I'm talking about. We call it bok choy. Fiji calls it Chinese cabbage. Same. When I go to the market, typically it's $2 to $3. When it's like the season where I can't find it, it is $5. Last week, I went to buy a bundle of it. It was $7.
Wow.
$7 for like this like tiny little thing of cabbage, and I was dying, and I did buy it. Don't judge me, but we need vegetables. And I guys, I used to have this giant garden. It is now the jungle. It is part of the jungle. They've embraced each other, and I haven't actually gone in there with a weed whacker or John.
Who is that talking? Who were we talking to the other day about nature and how nature is always headed towards a forest?
Oh yeah.
Were you in that conversation?
No, but I see how that is a great
Yeah, like where
conversation.
there's a city, if the city doesn't get maintained, the weeds grow, the trees grow, it turns back into a forest.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so true. Nature is always
Encroaching.
going towards a forest.
Yeah. It's coming for us. Cement does not stop nature.
No.
So it's definitely a powerful thing. And I would say it's difficult in Fiji always to deal with the budget that we're working with. And like, like an insane thing for me to spend $7 on cabbage. But I was kind of getting desperate going, I need it. I know how to work with this vegetable. The other ones are stressing me out. But honestly, I was looking at the budget of what I normally spend. If I spent $20 per day just on pure vegetables, and I went primarily vegetarian, I would save a lot of money, even at the high market prices.
Right.
Because all the imported stuff and all like the things that we're buying in the stores are quite expensive. Let's say like a tin of tuna.
Mm-hmm.
If we just ate vegetarian, we'd save a lot of money. And then the great thing in Fiji is we have an all-around growing season. So we could put in the extra effort and just grow our food and save so much money. I'm just a terrible gardener. I think some of you guys have seen that I grew strawberries. It's like a miracle that happened. The worst gardener in all of Fiji over here. And
Why do you say $20? That seems like a lot for one day. Like that's because we're feeding like all the people.
No, I'm saying even if.
Oh,
I spent,
even if.
I
Okay.
spent $20, I'd be saving money.
Right.
Like I could feed us so much during the day. That'd be a lot of vegetables. But we'd eat like kings and spend $20.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a lot, but we have
Because the way that I
people
look at
in
it,
our
it's
house.
like I say probably the average diet in at least in the village here is like probably people spend like $1 each on breakfast with say bread or flour, like whatever they make for breakfast. Usually it's bread with butter and sugar, tea, probably $1 each, and then like probably $3 to $4 each on lunch, like tin of tuna with noodles and whatever else.
Yeah.
And maybe another $2 to $3. So let's say, $8 to $10 per person per meal.
Yeah.
For a diet that is probably not that great,
Yeah.
So it really comes down to what is, for me at least, just like what's my health worth. So I just choose to, well, at least like right now, just to eat less, just having to eat less because can't afford to like eat like kings.
Mm.
Because like we said, I would just buy vegetables and give them to somebody to cut up and feed their family and like cook their meals and give it to us.
Yeah, that'd be
Like
great.
if it was just like, hey,
It'd be
we'll
an
buy all the
ideal world.
vegetables if you can, like we'll buy food for you guys if you guys can cook it and give it to us. Because then it'd be like, then we can, instead of paying somebody, like they would be able to feed their family.
Yeah,
But
like,
I just don't, that's not able to work right
I
now.
was speaking with some of our staff at the coffee shop the other day about this, and I'm trying to get them on board with like living a healthier lifestyle, growing some more vegetables in their garden, because I'm like, well, what's the point of making more money if
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
if you don't live longer or have a healthier
Yes.
lifestyle? Because life is more about quality of life, not longevity of life, I think. Like, both typically go hand in hand, but while you live, the
You gotta
quality
live.
that you live is important. If you have strokes and you're in bed and you can't move, or someone chops off your leg because you have severe
You know what I like to
diabetes,
say?
sucky.
You know how people say YOLO?
Okay.
YOLO stands for you only live once, but it's not true. You only die once,
Yeah.
but you live every day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, just follow John on Twitter. He'll have all these stupid quotes. He just made his own Twitter account, which I think is like a little embarrassing. But it's actually under his personal name, and he's gonna be throwing out all the deepness in his soul, and that's where
Ooh.
he's gonna be getting it out. And then some of his like unique jokes that are unique to John. And if you get his humor, you get his humor, and if you don't, just like
Then hate on me.
hate
Please
on
hate on me and reshare. It affects me so much.
Jonathan. Welcomes all the hate.
Yeah.
He enjoys it. Me
I
on
can't
the
even
other
sleep.
hand,
Like negative comments, they just keep me up at night.
yeah, he loves it. And me, on the other hand, don't hate on me. I don't like it. It's hard for my soul. I actually have to just like die a little bit. So just hate on John, and I'll just watch from the background.
I'm on Twitter. I'm
I'm not going on
OnlyFans.
Twitter. Okay, so speaking of hate,
I'm not on OnlyFans, by the way.
okay, just rent Jonathan for the day. Terrible.
Okay. Edit that out.
We're just gonna pimp John out, because really people don't care about male prostitutes. We're only concerned about the female ones. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Wow.
It's terrible.
You're a
Just
terrible
making.
person.
I'm gonna make millions this year. Congratulations to me, and I don't have to lift a finger. Okay. Okay. Moving on. TikTok is something that
Make a time marker on that, though, for real. Better cut that part out.
John's just dying over there. Sorry, everybody. We joined TikTok.
Yes, we did.
I don't even know when, like last week or something like that. And I will say TikTok's a whole new world of like, they're aggressive. Like the comments on there, I'm like, ooh, you guys are coming out to play. Like the hate is
The best part is like
real?
having, like as of today, how many followers do we have, Tui? I don't know.
I think like 14,000. Something like that. We've
But I
grown within a
haven't-
week like crazy.
I haven't seen a single comment on TikTok.
Yeah,
right now.
John has not joined the world of TikTok.
Yeah,
officially.
14,000 something.
Like we're on there, but John doesn't participate. So
Yeah.
if you guys are hearing this, you can know the secret of Jonathan does not see anything on there. He
Please
just
hate on our social media and share it to the world. Roast us for it.
and I'm just like dying. I might have to take myself on there too and leave it to our content manager, because I actually take it a little
It's funny
bit
though, like in all
personally.
seriousness, like where I don't know, like I mean, obviously people have probably hashed this out so many times, but I wonder where that negativity comes from, or the feeling to need to like spout out on the internet, like it's something that's constructive.
Maybe people in their lives are being so politically correct and being so nice, like false nice, face to face, that when we're going online and we're a bit incognito, that like the claws and the viciousness of our souls like come out.
Yeah,
to
I think
play.
Incognito has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you can just roast someone and you don't even feel bad, and you're like, I just wanted to get that out there. I
Yeah,
just
no
wanted to tell
consequences.
you that I hated your face today. And you're like, wow, that was harsh, but okay.
Yeah, it's true. Like there was a guy when I was in technical college for mechanics. Like there was a guy. I was working at that Red Lobster restaurant after school hours,
Yes.
and so I like drove there, and there was
Fond
I cut some guy
memories.
off accidentally in traffic,
Okay.
and then he followed me all the way through the city into the parking lot at the restaurant,
Wow.
and then like parked my car, and got out of and he was like, he parked up, he pulled up right behind me. He's like, just to block me in.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, got out of my car, stood up, and like walked over to started walking towards his car, and he just took off.
Really?
Yeah. But it was kind of just one of the things, like, you know, people, like, it's all good while you're anonymous. Once it comes face to face, it's like somebody has to get slapped eventually, you know?
Not like you. Like, honestly, if you meet Jonathan in person, like, gentle person, doesn't want to stir up trouble, do not block him in traffic or cut him off or put his family in danger. Like, we were on holiday in Canada and we had this, like, supercar almost push us off the road. And Jonathan just got in a rage. And honestly, I don't even like fighting in our car. Like, if me and John have a disagreement, because he gets, like, road rage a little bit. And that's the worst for me. Like, let's just fight at home when you're not driving. But I remember they almost pushed us off the road. And then he, like, hunted them down. They, like, pulled over at a gas station. And it was these 4 or 5 guys in the car. And John just, like, got out and was yelling at them in the window.
I did not yell at them. I parked. I walked over to the vehicle. I knocked on the window.
I looked aggressive. I was not. I was viewing it.
Okay.
And then you were like, come out here. You don't really yell, but you get, like, I call it axe murderer face. Like, when John's not smiling, you guys don't get to experience that much. He has a terrifying face. Like, when we were dating, he'd be, like, really serious and concentrating. I'd always look at him like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is everything good? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to, like, that empty.
I don't have a family. I just have hostages.
That's how it's literally how it
Steph's
felt.
like, yeah.
I don't know if I trust you. We don't even know each other that well. Are you about to murder me?
Yeah.
And so these poor guys that John was, like, angry with goes over with his axe murderer face, and there's like 4 or 5 of them and one of him and like his wife and children in the car, and I'm like, I'm not saving you. So I'm glad you at least have maybe like your machete in the back. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh, we did tell that story already.
Did we?
Yeah, the machete story. Yeah.
No. Yeah, well, John always carries a machete in the back of his vehicle, so beware. But it was just funny in Canada because I was like, what are you gonna do if all 4 or 5 of them don't like the way you're speaking to them? But they were terrified. They stayed in the vehicle, and then we just told the police about what happened. But like,
yeah,
people,
it was so handy because like we were right across the road from a gas station.
Yeah.
Then I went to the gas station to fill up, and one of the cops pulled in.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, that car over there, cut me off.
Well, they almost ran.
Give
us
them
off
a
the
life
road.
sentence.
John was so mad.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Capital
funny
punishment.
because people couldn't confront you in person. They did not know how to deal with the physical threat or altercation, where like online people are like, yeah, give it to me, baby. Like, I'm going to chew you to pieces and you can be like a social media warrior. And they'll just give it back to you. And you could, sometimes my favorite thing.
I think, but like so far Twitter, like I think Twitter's just like full of nice people. I don't think there's a negative person on Twitter.
Okay, well, John hasn't been on Twitter yet. Twitter will chew you and eat like your heart.
I've read through all my
soul.
comments. Like everybody's super nice. Like,
I was just laughing because John did this video about like, put down your phone, and then people are like, what are you videoing with? What are you just saying? Like, how am I supposed to watch you? And we were just like, guys, like, we're just saying like, put down your phone for a minute to spend time with your kids, and like, you can pick up your phone later. No one's saying like, kill your phone and smash it and throw it in the trash. We're just saying like, maybe value the time with your kids and put down the phone for a minute. And everyone's just like, what are you videoing
but I embrace
with?
the hate because
John
like
loves
the hate
it.
gets views.
Yeah.
Like having like saying that at the beginning of the video, you got to put down the phone. People are like, oh, what do you mean me? It's like, just listen to the rest. Like, I'm trying to like get you to listen. And then people just start spouting off in the comments apparently. And I'm like, great. That's awesome.
It is funny because we are all very attached to our cell phones nowadays. Like, it's part of life. And I don't think, honestly, you can function that well in society without a cell phone anymore, because it's part of culture in every culture nowadays. I may be ignorant to the cultures that don't have cell phones, but it seemed to be worldwide. And I think it's hard to like not have a phone because we need connection with people, and things have just gotten to a very quick pace in society. So I think it's just something that like we can't always put it down, but we need to put it down when it comes to family and time and important moments and like paying attention to people. Phones are not life. phones help us execute business and communication and all those things. But
Yeah.
people are more important than what's happening online. And John and I, even though we do social media and we use our phones and we're on that kind of stuff all the time, when it comes to time to not do that, we want to just be with our kids or with each other. And like sometimes when we have to video and we're with our kids, I'm like, really? Like, are we seriously doing this? Like, let's do this quickly and then like do this in reality because I'm enjoying my children. Like, let's not wreck it with a phone.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, realistically, we probably spend the average amount of time on our phones as anybody else. We just decided to, like, use the time on technology, like, on tech, like, cell phones, computers, and stuff like that to be constructive. So anybody can go out there and do what we did, which is tell our story. It just depends on how you want to use your time. If you just scroll and mindlessly look at things, then that's fine. Or you could tell your story, spend probably the same amount of time as we do on our social media,
Yeah.
but just do it in a way that has no target, like no goal, and no direction. And
Yeah.
you'll end up with
Nothing.
just scrolling.
Yeah. And just numbing.
Or you can decide you want to tell your story, share it with the world, and then have a platform.
Yeah. And I think speaking of like
Or give it up completely. I know lots of people that have given it up too,
yeah.
which is good. Like there has to be time sometimes to like cut it out of your life.
Yeah.
And like I think everybody should take a break from it once in a while. It's
No, I
healthy.
agree.
It's healthy.
And
Yeah.
I think like now that we're speaking about like hurtful things and just like things that we should talk about more, I think something that we were talking about recently is like within Fiji, if you guys don't know, like culturally it's become a bit of a melting pot for people. But even
What do you mean?
I'm talking about hurtful words or
Oh.
hurtful things that people say. And I'm saying Fiji is becoming a melting pot within society. We were talking about this last week about like the word half caste or kailoma.
Oh.
How do you feel about that regarding yourself?
So for those of you guys who don't know, like Kailoma is like, well, I mean, I guess literally translated, like when you say Kai means like a person of a certain place, or like in Fiji, like Kai means like Kai is like you are from the same island. So when you say Kailoma, Loma is inside, so it means like Kailoma is like a certain type of people from the inside, I guess, if you wanted to translate directly. But it's just a name for a people group of people who are basically half white and or people who are like partially European and partially Fijian. And usually those people have like links to the Netherlands or Britain or Germany or places like that.
And a lot of them have like a long family history within Fiji. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of them probably been here for like 3-4 generations now. And yeah, a lot of them have like big chunks of land, like big estates that their families like homesteaded on, and they just kind of like expanded, so they're all like descendants of like great grandmothers and grandfathers and stuff like that.
Okay, and so for yourself, like lots of people within Fiji refer to you as like Kailoma
Yeah.
or
Well, because so I look Kailoma because I'm part European, even though my mom's from North America. But European in Fiji means like white. Yeah. Kaivalangi or
Kailoma.
European means just like white people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I look like.
Wait, but let's just say John is like Dutch, French. Is that right?
British.
Like British? Oh, okay.
Dutch British. Yeah. My mom's father was Dutch. My grandma is British.
Is British. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like Dutch British Fijian, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I think like if this is the direction you're going in, like for sure never fully fit in Fiji. Always felt like I was on the outside, never fit in Canada fully, never fit in Fiji fully. And so always been a person who has never had like a real identity and like been accepted totally by anybody, like for where I'm from, or I never get to be from anywhere. And that's basically what I've accepted in my life is like, and that kind of goes better in Canada for me because Canada is a land of a bunch of people who came from other places.
We're all immigrants.
But like
pretty
in
much.
Fiji, people will describe me as like, oh, he's like he was born here, but like he's like Canadian. He just grew up in Canada. Like he's Canadian.
Or they all think that you're like from Savu Savu. Like whenever we meet
Mm.
people, oh, where are you from? And always like, oh, we live in Senganga. And they're like, oh, that's nice. How's Savu Savu? Because that's like a
Yeah,
huge population of Kailoma people
in that town, yeah.
in that area. And people can't get past like what you look like. They're like, and well, and also especially if you're with me, because they're like, okay, you're like Kailoma, and then you're with this white person. You have to live in Savu Savu. If you're not, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
What is wrong with us?
Yeah, so I will never ever get the satisfaction or whatever that you want to call it of being like a Fijian. Because that's just never going to be part of my life story. And I see that even for our kids now. It's like 3 years in and people are still like, oh wow, they're like starting to get Fijian accents.
Like,
It's like,
oh wow, that cute white child is like speaking with a Fijian accent. They're almost like Cavite children.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's fine, but they are raised here. They are Fijian citizens. I think we talked about this last time. How like it's hard regarding especially our kids, and I think like as they mature and as like we kind of navigate the situation, I think it's really good to like allow them to embrace both sides of who they are.
Yeah. And like for me, like I don't need your approval. Like I don't need you to believe in anything for me. I just will go and do it. So like whether you believe I'm Fijian or not, I believe that I can take Fiji to the world and we'll do it with the Waka brand. So
Yeah.
imagine if somebody who was fully Fijian embraced the belief that I have
Yeah.
and did what I'm doing. They could do it so much more better because I don't understand everything. I've been told things. I've experienced things because of my dad, but I don't have two Fijian parents. I have half of what most Fijians have.
I think that's a blessing. I think like within life, like when you can embrace both sides. You have a multicultural family. You get to embrace both sides of your culture. And that means that you have a wider world view on things. So you come and you love both sides of your culture. You want to embrace and benefit both sides of your culture, but you are also allowed to like and able to express both of those things. So you can kind of reach more people because you connect with more people. You could, and even like from who you are and what you look like and all these things, like I think it's like people naturally are like, oh, I can identify with you. Even if they are not.
Yeah, well, and that's where I've found my niche or my strength in life is because if I go to Central America, Mexico, I look Mexican. Everybody speaks Spanish to me. If I go,
It's great. He doesn't know any Spanish other than like where's the toilet or something like that.
yeah, if I go to like the Middle East, everybody thinks that I'm Syrian or like from the Middle East. If I go to Canada, people think I'm Native American. If I'm in Fiji, people think I'm Kailoma. So I'm kind of like a person who kind of fits in everywhere, but doesn't fit in anywhere fully, which I've acknowledged and turned that into like an advantage. Other people get to fully belong somewhere. I partially belong everywhere. Because like a Fijian with black skin is clearly not, and a flat nose and a heavy forehead, like some of my features, like is clearly not somebody who is from Canada, right? But
Well,
like I
yeah.
get to be partly from Canada, I get to be partly from Fiji, I can be partly from Mexico, I can be partly from Israel. So that like fluidity has allowed me to, I just embraced it.
Well, I think like the interesting thing and I'm speaking for you, so you can adjust this. But I think like the interesting thing for us as Christians is like You don't have to identify with culture. You can identify in Christ.
Yeah.
And your identity can be, I am a Christian. So does it really matter where I am in the world and what culture? Does culture or skin tone really matter? No, it doesn't. We live in the culture of Christ and Jesus, and we identify with Jesus. And so, like, ultimately, we can find common ground within, like, do you love Jesus? I love Jesus. Wow, we're the same.
Yeah.
We are both Christians, and that's an easy mutual ground to hold.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing in Fiji. For those of you who don't know, like when people talk about race here, they actually talk about religion. So like, oh, like same,
That's true.
like the same race, like we're all Muslim. Like race and religion are interchangeable here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
if
within
you're,
churches, like denominations are different religions, or the way people talk about it.
yeah, it's true. Like Itoke people are predominantly Christian. And when I meet like an Itoke woman that is Muslim, 'cause I've had
Yeah.
that happen quite a few times, I am like so shocked. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, because those things don't normally, like, it's not that
Where we live, it
common.
happens more often.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's surprising. And I'm like, well, how did that, like, how did you guys cross paths and how did you switch over to that? Because traditionally, Itoke people are predominantly Christian, and then Indo-Fijians are between, like, Muslim belief and Hinduism.
Yeah.
So,
Primarily.
yeah, it's surprising. And there is obviously pockets of both communities, you know, changing religious sectors, but it's
Yeah.
just not as strong within the community. So it's surprising. Like when we find out some of the Indo-Fijian people, Indian descent Fijians, are Christians, I'm always like, oh, wow, like, that's so cool. Like, I'm like way more excited about it because I'm like shocked and
Yeah.
like, wow.
It's funny, like the mentality between. I mean, might get into something that we need to edit out, but like the
John's with the
mentality
editing over
between
here.
the mentality between like the actual races is like between Indians and Fijians in Fiji, and like I always find like in the village settings, like my family's like, oh, boo, Indians, boo, so smart, they're so smart, and then when I speak to like Indo Fijians, they're like, oh, like Indians are the worst, like we are like the worst to each other, and I'm like Fijian, like native Fijian people think you guys are so smart. That's how they that's how we in the village talk about you guys. Like you
Yeah.
guys are business savvy, you know how to take advantage of situations and move yourself forward
Yeah.
in the monetary race. And then you guys talk about each other, you're like, never trust an Indian. It's like, wait, I thought you guys were smart. You know?
What's
So
going
like
on?
you get this this thing and it's like you realize like nobody's actually that smart. Like it is not in Fiji. It's just like everybody's just trying to like make sense of what they're doing. It's not that like one race is like smarter than the other race. It's just that one operates with the luxury of having land and stuff like that, and the other one has to pay lease payments. So they have to come up with ways to survive so that they can pay payments. And both lifestyles are equally as valid and equally as important. It's just that's just the reality of things.
But that's, I think, like the nice thing for us, like moving here, especially like with who you are, you connect really well with both cultures. Like Indo Fijians and Itoke Fijians, they connect with you and they don't look at you. There is some like discrimination, obviously, between the cultures, just historic and
Yeah.
whatever's happening there. But like you connect with both sides, and each side identifies with you in some way. Maybe not fully, but you know, there's still some sort of like middle ground there.
Yeah.
And
And I get that all the time. Like people, like my Indian friends will be like, oh, like, Fijian people are so like this. And I'm like, oh, you would never say this to like a person who
yeah,
is like fully Fijian.
yeah, you're like, you remember I'm like Fijian though,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And then I get the same thing from the Fijian side. Like, boo, like it's not like, like they talk to me like I'm not an Indian. Like I'm a Fijian.
yeah,
And it's like, okay.
which is
So
like,
I just have to like eventually like I think there are people who are listening to this who are fully Fijian, who didn't grow up in Fiji, who live in other countries and don't speak the language, and you feel like you feel out of place
Yeah.
in life. And I would just, and you will get to the point where you feel like you need to have an identity. But for me, I've found that my identity, this is cliche, but my identity in Christ is like way, way more important than anything else. So if you don't have that, I feel sorry for you. Secondly, the next best thing I can give you is that just try to embrace that you get to be a person who fits in nowhere, but you kind of fit in everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you're cool. Like if you're the guy with a Fijian mom and a Fijian dad, but you grew up in New Zealand, but you don't speak Fijian, you get to be cool because you're like you get to be the token black guy. Like everybody wants a black friend. Like when I was in Canada, everybody wants to hang out with me because I'm kind of like half
He's
black.
cool.
Yeah. So everybody, like, you just get to be everybody's friend because you're cool.
Yeah.
When you come to Fiji, guarantee you feel out of place. But just be confident in who you are, and you don't need other people's approval.
Yeah, but like at least you get to be like the cool person. Like when I come to Fiji, a lot of people always tell me like, "Oh, I was really scared to talk to you, Steph."
Right.
Like I was like, I like scare people away. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's definitely like a weird thing to come in and try to be like participate within the culture, and then at the same time, like I know even without like hopefully being a terrifying person, I'm like scaring people away from me, just by the color of my skin and being unique and my English having a strong accent, so people are intimidated. You know, kind of worried. Probably, I'd be worried. Like if I had to speak Fijian, I'd be worried about having to understand their accent. So I get it. Like people are worried to speak to me because I have a heavy accent. So I think it's just a unique experience. Like sometimes I'm jealous of you in that sense where you can come in and blend in and people are like, yeah, like you're part of our group. Like you're in.
Yeah.
And then when I come here, I'm like, I am so out. I am like the sore thumb in the city that like people like, see that glowing white person? And then I colored my hair this like weird um, bluish color. So I definitely stand out even more. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a definitely. I was actually speaking to a lady this week. No, I've spoken to several women the last few weeks about them and their families moving to Fiji. Typically, they have a connection to Fiji. Either they have like family that's from Fiji and they've moved overseas when they're young, or they were born overseas, or they have a spouse that's Fijian. Everybody kind of has a little bit of a different story. I've been just walking people through some immigration advice, getting housing, just some like practical things with kids and such. But I always think like, yeah, like you're really like taking a challenge on and like good for you. And I think like it's something I never considered in my life before living in Canada. We have lots of immigrants coming in. Obviously, in our own countries, we're not immigrants. We feel like we belong there, we're born there, raised there. So we've never had to do the moving to another country and trying to fit in. And so many people do that in Canada and move overseas. And it's so difficult for the first couple years as you're adjusting there because you don't have friendships, and that's what makes it home. You have to culturally try to adjust to humor and traditions and all these things. And that's why people predominantly when you're moving to a new culture, they like find people that are like them. So someone that has moved from another Western country, I may connect with quickly because we have the same life experience. And we kind of be like, oh yeah, like you feel like home. Just like people that move to Canada, lots of our Fijian friends, they all like have island days and they like just hang out and talk about home and Fiji and they connect in that way. And it's interesting just to see like, oh, okay, now I'm getting to see the flip side of moving to another country and like feeling like the displacement from that and sorting out like where's my place within Fiji and how do I sort out like the connections that I can make here, with people that are from here and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely interesting. And I was doing a video today. You'll see it up on Facebook sometime probably in the next week. That's
Only
just
Facebook?
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, I'm not putting it on your Twitter because it's my face.
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts,
Boom.
all the good
We're
stuff.
everywhere.
We're all over social
Why are we
media.
doing like social media? We ever talked about that?
No.
Like,
Okay.
why are we podcasting? Why are we
Let me
doing this? Because even people that are close to us don't understand why we do social media.
Okay.
Why would you waste your time with social media?
It's true. Okay, let me finish my thought and then let's go back to that.
Okay.
I was saying in my video today that I don't know why this is like the gist of it. I don't know why people are moving overseas with so much opportunity in Fiji and there's so many bills in Canada or Western cultures and everybody thinks that the opportunity is there where the opportunity is here. So that's why we are in Fiji. And you go ahead and explain the rest.
What?
Like social media, what you're getting at. Like, why are we doing social media? Why do we think there's so much opportunity within Fiji? What's the point of us?
Okay, so I think that in the last probably in the last decade, probably the most important thing was data, depending on how you want to say it,
Data.
and collecting people's data.
Okay.
From
Annoying.
them, their email addresses, their numbers, their names, and the companies that were able to collect the most data on people were the ones that were the most successful, like Facebook, like Google. And I think in the next 10 years, the greatest asset or the companies that will have the biggest opportunities are the ones that have your attention. So that's basically why we're doing social media, is because we don't come from a bunch of money, like millions of dollars or like family business, like a lot of you guys do. Like, we're not saying that like you guys have opportunities that we didn't. Like, we're trying to do something that anybody can do. And I think the best way to do that is like, we didn't have a product, but we have a story. Just like you have a story listening to this right now. And actually your story is pretty cool. If you're like a construction worker and your wife is like a stay-at-home mom, like, you have a cool story. We want to see what you're talking about. And so I think it's important for people to be able to just know that, like, be empowered to like tell your story and tell it in a way that is like knowing that like people aren't going to all listen at one, like in the beginning, but it has to be like a long game. And once you tell your story, people identify with your story. I said this on our Facebook video. When they identify with your story, when it comes time for you to like, hey, I have a product or I have a thing that I can sell, they're going to buy from you because they trust you, because they feel like they know you. And so that's why we're doing the social media thing. And I feel like this is like whoa, those rats are going nuts. Classic. Every time.
We're like podcasting, and last night there was like no rats. Actually, the last couple nights, and then I swear there's a cat up in the roof just chewing that rat up.
Yeah.
So, good. I saw a mouse the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm out. I hate this.
Yeah. So it's hard to. I guess I lose all my energy when I have to keep explaining to, not to people listening to this podcast, but to people who are like close to us, about like, why are we doing social media, or like not understanding the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. And to me, it's because like this is like a thing that we have to do because we get to establish our name as a reputable name in the world, and then pick your industry in the world, then pick your industry. But we don't have the history in business, so we create that history by telling our story, and then we get to tack on businesses.
And we get to influence within society because people trust us. So we can have a say, we can save a kid's life, we can influence music, for example. So like this last week, there is a writer that creates music within Fiji. He's done a lot of the top hits. His name is Stee. I don't know his last name. You'd have to help me out with that one.
Pericula.
Okay. Amazing, creative guy that just writes awesome Fijian music. And because we have our platform, guys, I suck at music. It's not my forte. Jonathan heard the song and was like, all right, this one is a hit. It is going to go big, and we want to be a part of it. We want to help it go big. So you contacted Steve, or his brother, actually.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah.
And what?
Yeah. I was like, man, this song's going to go nuts. It's got all the makings for a song that goes viral in Fiji, at least. It's got like kind of your trendy rapping, like background Timbaland style. It's got the reggae rhythm. It's got the singing. It's got the English mixed with the Fijian, mixed with like the reggae tone. It's mastered really, really well. It starts somewhere, it takes you to a place, and then it ends before you want it to end. Like you're like, oh, I want this song to keep going, and it's over.
Yeah, and so John and I will put out some videos with our editor Tui, who's doing a great job, just like making it interesting, unique, and exciting for people to watch. And I, from the outside, thought it was really interesting because I am not a music connoisseur. I've only bought 2 CDs in my whole life, and I just listen to what John plays. I don't really care what happens. And to be honest, guys, I don't like
She likes
reggae.
Joshua Radin. She likes Ben Rector. You like Michael Jackson.
And I like female
Beyonce.
vocalists. Like if it's a girl, and I love Beyonce and I like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I've got a range, but
Illuminati.
okay.
What?
Wow.
Sorry.
It could be true if we really look into it, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
Just look into it.
No.
It says
I
every
don't-
conspiracy
I don't
theorist
want to
ever.
know because then I'd have to like stop listening.
Really?
to
I
people.
don't know, man. Just look into
I
it.
just want to live in ignorance.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine.
I'm not into reggae. So what happens is John's like, this is a sick song. It's going to go so big. I have to be a part of it. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know if it's great, but okay. And then they're doing songs and I hear this song all week and they're like, I love this song. It's so great. And then everybody else is like, I love this song. And I just like keep hearing it. And then I'm like, yeah, actually guys, it's pretty good. Like, okay, it's like vibey. I like it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, it's a great song. And I'm in on like the Waka family influence. And you guys are like, you're influencing me to be like, this reggae song is great. And I don't like reggae.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting kind of see how like someone can suggest to you, this is a great song. I love the vibe. The kids are like, Mom, this is a good song. I like it. And they like want to dance to it. And you're like, yeah, actually it's got like a good beat. And then like all of a sudden that has changed people's or influenced people to be like, yeah, this song is the bomb. And you can kind of see how people are like jumping on board with it. And Steve was like, oh, thanks guys. Like, I want to do something in the future. And we're like, oh, how exciting is that? And so that's kind of like with social media, like it opens up opportunities for us to actually influence Fiji and be a part of like the growth of even like the musicians and the media in Fiji. And that would be so cool to like get that more out to the world, not just circulating within Fiji, because lots of people outside of Fiji love that kind of like island vibe, and that can go big. Like we have like K-pop in the world, like Korean pop stars that have gotten big and outside of Korea. Well, like why can't Fiji get there? You know, like why can't Fiji get big in the world of like music and beyond just like island style music?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just fun for us to kind of like have
I think the downside
opportunities.
is that like, yeah. So the fun thing is, the great thing is that it creates opportunities.
Yeah.
Social media is also social, hence social media. So you get to network with many, many people
Yeah.
and make connections, which gives you the opportunities.
And you have to navigate those connections that you make.
Yeah, you get to meet people who waste your time. You get to meet 80 people who waste your time and 20 people who are actually, you have like a normal and positive conversation for them or for you. It's a good experience.
But
The hard thing with social media for us, or like the way to make it productive, is filtering out all the opportunities and focusing in on something. And I think that's what we have been working through.
yeah, let's say for example, like our coffee shop. This all came about because we had another business in the works that didn't pan out. So we had to decide what we're going to do with the space. And John and I love coffee. And we were like, well, we're kind of kicking down the idea already and don't know if this is a great place for it. But like, we got to use the space. So let's just try a coffee shop. Maybe
We made a mistake.
it's maybe a bit of a mistake.
We made a mistake in the fact that we renovated the space
Oh, yeah.
before we tested the machinery that for the new business. So we won't go into
Yeah.
details on what the new business is because that business is still coming. It
In
is
about-
coming.
Yeah.
It's just going to be open in Suva, and that'll be probably
Maybe
that'll
about 6 months,
yeah
7 months.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what we should have done was test the machinery first and then invest in the space.
Yeah. But we did the opposite.
So we did it the wrong way around. But if it was easy, then everybody would do it.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
opened the coffee shop. We know that Senganga was not the most ideal place to have like a cute coffee shop with aircon that people can come relax in. But we thought like, well, we want to support our community. We want to employ people in this area. Why not? Like just try it. However, if we didn't have social media, we would not have a hope.
Yeah.
Because Senganga is not even a town. It doesn't have the support and the amount of people that we need, and most of our customers are people that follow us on Facebook, and we're really thankful to you guys for coming to support us.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, like we're really grateful for that, and it's been really a cool experience putting out advertising, telling you guys where we are. Even we're a little bit hard to find, and you guys are so willing to come on an adventure and try the coffee, and most of you are like, oh, this is actually like strong quality coffee. And we're excited because we think the company that we buy coffee from, Bula Coffee, is awesome. The guy
It's the best coffee in Fiji.
and
Come beat it.
honestly, we've had people from overseas will get this, especially US and Canada. We had a Canadian lady come in, best compliment we've ever had, and she said, it's better than Starbucks. And I almost died. I was like, yes.
I don't think that's a very big compliment.
That's a big compliment. Do you know how big of a company Starbucks
Yeah,
is?
people like Starbucks because it's convenient and it's consistent.
Yeah, but
Because
like,
you can go to Starbucks in Japan, you can go to Starbucks in the
Okay.
middle of
I'm going to
but
say,
nowhere in
John, that's the
Canada and get the
snobbiest
same.
thing I've ever heard from you. There's not even that big of a... Yeah, that's a big compliment because that's a big freaking company.
No,
If
but
we
I don't
can-
think it's a big compliment because it's not like that. That doesn't mean that your product's great.
I'm going to just
Just-
fight with you about this.
Starbucks
like,
is just the biggest name. They
Yeah.
don't make the best. They do not make the best coffee.
Oh my
Come on,
gosh.
their black coffee
No.
is so bitter.
Okay,
and
if you're in
it's burnt.
Australia, you know. But like, who
Disagree
cares?
with me.
When you're in the States or in Canada, people love Starbucks.
Yeah, because you can go anywhere and get the same drink.
Ah.
It's consistent.
What? It's delicious. They make like a blended caramel frappuccino. And
Yo, you
I
put
am
enough cow's
in.
milk and sugar into anything with flavoring syrups, it'll taste good.
Delicious.
All right. Yeah.
I was excited. I was ecstatic. Yes, give me that compliment. I'll take it all day and soak it in. So you can be like pish posh, but I'm happy with that.
So our coffee shop's a bit of a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Senganga is not the typical place for a coffee shop.
And my favorite thing is all the comments are always like, bring it to Suva, bring it to Vitilevu. And I'm like, maybe, but I kind of
No, I don't think this coffee shop works there.
I don't know. It could.
We're not high end enough for that.
I like to call it bush coffee.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Powered by Roop's Big Bear.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It is powered by Roop's Big Bear because we
So
love-
Roop's Big Bear is like the dollar store
Of
kind
furniture.
of furniture and like house stuff,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Like, guys, when you see photos or videos of our store, I literally took 10 minutes and did each painting.
And the furniture all comes, except for the coffee tables, comes from this Roop's Big Bear
Roop's.
place. It's all like cheap line. It had the shape that we wanted, it had the look we wanted, and the color we wanted.
And
it was
we're
good.
on a budget, so we're like, a red couch that goes with our colors. Give us a red couch all day. I could work with vibrant colors.
Yeah.
I think Fiji loves vibrant colors. And I was like, I think I can like make this happen. I am not an interior decorator, but I was like, I am in for the colors. So let's just make it really vibey if we can. And hopefully people will like it within Fiji. And so far they have. And they're like, oh, it's so fancy. And we're like, yeah, it's fancy on a budget. So, and the coffee tables, let's just shout out our friend Dave. Can you tell me what their Instagram or Facebook handle is?
Numa Hill Joinery.
That's right. Beautiful
PNEU.
craftsmanship. So that
MA.
is the one thing that
Numa.
we just wanted to make sure that was quality within our store is the coffee table. I feel like that's the one piece that made it look luxury. If we had a broken, disjointed, terrible table, people are like, yeah, this is ghetto.
100%.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But that table gives it class and style and like high quality feel.
Yeah.
Even though we've got Roop's furniture, people are like, ooh, a nice coffee
Yeah,
table.
like we'll show you guys the table and tag Dave's company in the video next week.
Yeah,
sure.
and honestly, I'm like, we're so lucky to know Dave and the quality and the effort that he put into those tables that he did for us. I'm like, and he is such a lovely guy and did it in a time crunch, and they turned out so fantastically. And we get so many compliments on the table.
So you have lots of opportunity, but like I thought you came here to do farming. Like why are we like so like doing this and doing that and like not really doing much farming? Like
Farming
did something
is
change?
yeah. Well, number one, COVID happened, so John and I had zero money, and we're like, we need to eat. So that happened. Farming is difficult to sell your products to. So what we've discovered is we need a market for our things that we're growing, our crops, because it's not already available. So that's something within business where we've had kind of this pivot in thought of like we need to create a market for ourselves and then we can go into farming. And like let's create a market for us and lots of other people. Also, farming takes a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
you can start farming once you want large scale. The amount of outpour of like the wallet, once it starts, that money starts flowing, it is hard to stop it flowing. And when you invest in so much, but there's nowhere to sell the product that you have, it's disheartening and upsetting.
Yeah, because the thing is like Fiji's such a small country, so there are people who do make a lot of money doing farming.
Yes.
But like when you're new in a space like we are, like you can plant 15,000 dalo, but like the exporters in Viti Levu don't want the dalo from Vanua Levu because apparently we can't get it to them within 24 hours, which we can and which we've proven to them, but they just don't believe it. And the people who will take it already have people who sell to them. So it's just a market that we got to pierce. And so in the meantime, while we're trying to work on all these things, we'll just build up the social media so that everybody knows us. And like, I feel like we have a story worth telling. And if it ends up just being videos for me and you to watch when we're 80, 90 years old, then
Great.
that is what it is.
We'll have lots of entertainment.
So far, I got 100 vlogs of my kids from when Seva is 2 years old to when he is
4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
So cute.
Yeah. No, 1 year old to 4.5.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true. And
So like,
well, and like Fiji's an interesting place to do business within. Like what we've experienced for ourselves in farming is that we have 70 or 80 guys from our village that have moved overseas.
no, that's not true.
No?
No,
Oh,
there's probably like
50?
a dozen to 25.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you exaggerated to me then.
There's that many that work in that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so I just misheard it. Sorry. Okay, anyway, we've got a handful. We've got such a small village, so even that amount is huge. What's happening within Fiji is a lot of people are moving overseas to work, and we are losing our workforce.
Yeah.
So labor and doing farming and stuff like that has become harder and harder because people that used to be interested in doing manual labor have now gone overseas. And a lot of people are getting money coming in from overseas to support them. So they don't need to do manual labor. And so finding people to even work on the farm and help out with that kind of stuff has become harder and harder as well. So I've just seen like it's an interesting thing where people are like, oh, that's great, they're going overseas. But Fiji is such a small country. The more and more we have people go overseas, the less Fiji will progress, I believe. And John and I want to build industry over here to keep people at home, to keep families together, to allow villages and traditional living and all that kind of stuff to thrive because people have income and they don't have to leave and they can stay together with family and hopefully raise children in the next generation to do even more.
Yeah. The thing is, it's not going to be hard to become the biggest, most innovative company in Fiji because like the brain drain is real. So many people are leaving Fiji. So for us to bring the attention back and make it Make it to like, we want to build your dream with you. Because the fact of the matter is that like, if you if you don't build your dream, somebody else will hire you to build theirs.
Yeah.
And so like, building other people's dreams alongside with them, because like the opportunities are endless. But so to find the right people and to build dreams with other people will mean that, because people are leaving because they don't feel like anybody cares about them, because they don't feel like they can reach their dreams in Fiji.
Which sometimes they can't. Like we were just talking
because they can't
about,
find the people to do it with them.
yeah, well, we were just talking about
You
some
should leave.
different companies in the last week that typically bring in people from New Zealand or different areas to do a job, which they already have locals that could do the job if they did just more training with them in their specific niche, and they could thrive because they're already naturally talented and haven't had a lot of training already. So don't replace people within like your community. Bring people in to train them and allow them to thrive and be excellent, and then leave them to do the job that they're great at.
Yeah.
And it's something that's hard when you have people. A lot of the different businesses or agencies will bring in people from overseas because we're really like back home, like customer service, and the country is a tourism based country. They need lots of that, but really like there's brilliant people within Fiji. So we need people to come train and then leave it to these brilliant people, not people to come in and take these huge positions.
Mm.
And I think the part that I think I've realized, and John, is a lot of people that come in to do training or managing or things like that, they don't understand cultural context. And I can't say that I'm an expert in it in no way, and neither is John fully. He'd be better equipped at it than I am.
Man,
But I think like we honestly want to understand it because we want to be able to understand the people that we want to thrive with us, and we want to figure out how do we get them to their full potential. And so once you figure out a little bit of cultural context, it's easier to work with people because you can see the hurdles that they have to get over and the challenges that they face day to day. And so it's easier to work with those individuals and go, okay, I see why this is happening in your life. I'm not fully sure how to fix it, but we can work towards that. Instead of just being frustrated and being like, this is impossible, I just need to replace you. Because that's not true. It's just the fact that you're not understanding society and what's actually happening here. So in no means are we experts in that, but we're working towards it. And I think a lot of people do not get to have that cultural context or experience to allow them to work towards that, and people aren't sharing enough.
Yeah, you're not sharing enough, and you're not willing to share your pie. And I think like companies that have like one person who's hiring a bunch of people who work for them, you have one person trying. But if you work for like maybe a longer period of time, but you end up getting like 3 people, 4, 5, 10 people that are all trying because they have a share in the pie, you're going to freaking kill it.
Yeah,
in the long run.
And training people that are local to do the jobs that they are qualified to do and good at doing just need maybe a little bit more like life exposure from outside of where they're at. Because I'm speaking to the point of like tourism, you can't cater to something that you don't know about. So you have to learn about what the tourists want, but after you've learned, you can execute it. That's just like anything in life. I didn't know how to be a waitress before I went into waitressing, and someone taught me how to do customer service and go take an order and put it into a machine, right? Like I didn't know about that. Someone taught me, and now I know how to execute it. It's the same with everything in life. You just have to be taught and people willing to learn, and you can accomplish it.
Yeah, you just have to have the mindset of being a problem solver.
Yeah.
And like if you're an employee of a business, all you are solving a problem for your employer. So if you want to become a business person, just solve somebody's problem. If you're a person who wants to get into business, go to the hotel that's closest to you, find the general manager, and ask them what is the biggest problem for you, and how can I help you make your job easier? And then how can I solve a problem? What problem can I solve for you?
And then once they tell you that, figure out how you can solve that problem for them, but do it consistently.
Yeah.
Do it accurately, follow up, have good communication, and you'll actually win at that.
Yeah, to me, the difference between an employee and a business person is an employee is a person that just is told how to solve a problem. A business person is a person who goes and finds problems to solve.
Yeah, and we want the people that we work with, employees and all, I want everybody to start changing their mentality to be a problem solver.
Yeah.
I don't want just employees. I want people that rise above that and want more for themselves. I want to push my staff to want more for themselves because this is exciting for me. And if they can bring themselves up there, I'm like, oh, I can pull you out of this job and make a whole nother business around you because you're excellent and amazing. And I don't have to train someone that I don't know and don't trust. So I think it's just kind of an exciting way to do business, and just allowing people to thrive in the industry that they're in. And, if they want that. Obviously, if they don't, if they love being an employee, it's easier for them. I'm here for it, but I want more for people and I want to push them out of their comfort zone. So
I got a question for you.
okay.
So here's a game. And it's a conversational game that me and Steph play. And just to get closer to each other. This is deep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's a relationship card game that makes you talk about things that you wouldn't typically talk about in your normal day. John and I, because we're business partners, we talk about business all day. And so it was something that we bought because we were like, okay, let's not talk about business. Well, what are we supposed to talk about? So it's just something that helps us.
Here's a question. Because we
out.
finished level 1 on the first 12 episodes, we're now into level 2, which is connection.
Terrifying.
And here's a question. What recent experience made you feel closer to me?
Recent experience. Well, all right. Again, you've read the question. Go first. Enjoy.
Oh, I'm not even prepared, but I do have an answer. It's funny.
Exactly. John knows. He's read this prior. He always shocks me with it. He's prepared.
So let me answer this while you don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, because the last couple weeks have been kind of hectic, and also because getting strict with our diet has meant that you're waking up earlier, which you've been doing a really, really good job of.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but going to bed earlier because I am not.
So that
to
waking
be sleep
up
deprived.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So Stephanie doesn't do well with less than 8 hours of sleep. So she's been really strict with making sure that, hey, if I have to go to bed, if I have to wake up at 5:30, then I need to go bed with 8 hours prior to that, which would be 9:30. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways,
something like that.
so we haven't spent a lot of
Have you heard of hangry?
individual meaningful time together. But the other night we were sleeping, and you put your hand on my chest.
Oh, so romantic.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
she loves
this is
me.
nice. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is
That's funny.
this is nice. I don't know. I always felt like sometimes it's the small things because frankly, all the time in relationships, it's not what you see in the movies. It's not necessarily terrible. It's not necessarily great. Sometimes it's just it's good. It's all good, but you're not really making progress. So sometimes it is the small things that do count, like putting your arm around somebody or holding somebody's hand, or if it's not a romantic relationship, if it's just a friendship that hasn't grown in a while, just saying hey, I really appreciate you, dude, or hey, your friendship means a lot to me. Those kind of small things don't take much effort, but they can go a long ways.
I think it's always the small things. I think the big romantic gestures are a nice one-off, but they're not realistic. I would say, okay, say the question again so I can actually answer.
Oh, you put the card away, man. What recent experience made you feel closer to me?
Okay, so I am answering this right. I would say in the last week, you made me coffee in the morning, and it was the way I like it. And I am I'm literally addicted to coffee. I need coffee in the morning to function.
Keep this on me.
Yeah.
Build me up.
The vanity.
The vanity.
Anyway, you thought of me in the morning, made me coffee the way I like it, and you brought it to me in bed, and I was like, I love you. Yes. I was like, yeah, this is why I married you. You're the best. This is great. Because you know that's something that I'm I could just really use a coffee because it's really early and I'm dying over here, and you thought about me.
Great.
I think that's just an easy way just to care about each other. I think it's hard in the day. Like, we're so busy. We come home and I'm like trying to like prep all this stupid vegetarian like food and like scrub
Vegetarian?
some.
It's not vegetarian at all.
Well, it feels like veggie heavy. And I'm like hand washing laundry and you're like swimming with the kids. And I'm
Wow.
miserable.
A
I am.
little
I'm not
fun
like the best
stuff.
housewife. Let's be real. I suck at being a housewife. I don't like it. And I'm just doing it because it has to be done. And I'm jealous of you. You're like on the farm swimming with the kids. And I'm like, I'm freaking literally bleaching the toilet and like sanitizing it. And you're swimming in the river. Like, not
Hey,
cool.
your choice, man.
Is it though? And
So what
then
did you,
no, but then in the morning when you bring me coffee that I like, I'm like, oh yeah, I do love you. You're the best.
wow.
But in the moment, sometimes I'm like, I resent you a little bit. I'm scrubbing toilets, and you're swimming in the river. So I think like every relationship has that, because we all have to get through life, and we all have responsibilities and obligations. And when you take the time to do those little things, you can be like, oh yeah, I do love you and you're so great. And thank you for my coffee. Because yesterday when I was scrubbing the toilet, I was not that thankful for you. So I think it's just good to remember. And my toilet scrubbing, I will try to be more thankful for you while I do it. But bro, next time it's your turn. It's your turn. You're in for the crapper, not me. So I'm out.
I learned in my walk with the Lord this week. I try to read my Bible every morning, and or in the evenings, as it's been of late. But what I learned this week, I was reading Exodus, which is only the second book in the Bible, and I'm in a part that most people find really boring, and it's like all the measurements and all the things that.
And John would love this part.
The exact no, I don't really actually, which is really funny. You would think I would love this part,
would
but I
think
do
you
find
would.
it. I do find it to be quite a drag at
Okay.
times. But what I did find was that I talked with some friends about this. Is that like, man, God is a God of detail. Like the details do matter to Him, and I think for me, that was like a really good challenge. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I think sometimes I feel like I'm moving too fast or whatever, because I've embraced the like, hey, fail fast and fail small, and move on. And so like, just like, you don't have to know everything before you do things, but the measurements of the Ark of the Covenant and the measurements and how to do sacrifices in the Old Testament and all the laws that they had to follow, it's like very, very exact. And I was like, oh, okay, God cares about the details in certain situations. And so I would say like just honoring the Lord in all the things that we do, and even the small things, like, in our coffee shop, the way that we prepare our space, that it would be clean and that it would be like, that's what customers want to see, but that's also the way that God would want it to be, is like a place that like represents like Him. Like He would clean up His space and He would make people feel welcome. Like people wouldn't walk into Jesus' house and be like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
So like the small things, even though they're small, they aren't that small actually. They matter, and everything is a reflection of like the way that we understand Him and the way that we want other people to understand Him. So the details matter. That's what I took out of the word. You got anything?
I don't have my notes from this week. I dropped my phone and it's about to die, but it doesn't matter. I had a thought about just lately something I've been doing in the morning, like when I wake up, and I am devastated because it's super early and I'm not a morning person. I've been just trying to pray for my kids and their future and the things that I want for them. And deeply I want them to love Jesus. I want them to have a good relationship. And at night we're talking about, what does it look like in heaven, and, all that kind of good stuff. And they are excited to talk about Jesus and, what heaven could possibly look like. The other thing that I have been trying to pray for them about is like their future spouse. And it does seem really early, but it's something my mom did for me as a kid. And I think through...
Oh, your mom's prayers definitely worked out. Gotta
They
say,
did.
you found
I
a
will say
pretty
that.
good spouse.
No, my mom told me, like, since we were small, like, that's something that she prayed about daily, is that, like, all of us children would find a spouse that loves Jesus. And two of my siblings have amazing spouses that love Jesus. And I'm like,
Hey,
wow.
2 of your siblings?
Well, I
Hey.
have an amazing husband that loves Jesus, and that is amazing.
Thank
Amazing,
you.
amazing, amazing.
Wow, praise Jesus.
But I think it's just like, for me, I look at like all three of us. There's 3 kids in our household. We've all found, nobody's perfect, but we've all found really amazing people to live life with,
Right.
that love Jesus,
Yeah.
that we align with morally, and that I believe that our relationships will last a lifetime. And that is not common. And I really equate that for my mom's like praying for us every day about like, I want my children to have spouses that love Jesus. That's the qualification for them. It's nothing more. They don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to be smart. They don't have to be charismatic, rich, but they do have to love Jesus. And that's something that we all have. And I'm like, that's what I want for my boys. I want them to find beautiful souls that love Jesus, that women that love God, that can lead their families in that.
Are you crying about crying?
No, but I just think it's just like, I love that about my mom.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Mom.
This podcast is dedicated to Fresh Tea and Coffee, which is located in Sanganga. Come by, grab a coffee. We love you guys.
Wow.
Until next week,
Okay.
we're out.
All right. Bye.